In this video, I'm going to explain the approach I took to obtain my captain's license. The official title of the license is an operator of an uninspected passenger vessel, or commonly called a six-pack license. I just got mine in the mail today, so I thought I'd shoot a video and just kind of explain the process I took in order to obtain this. I'm going to go through every single step and just explain my experience with it. But there we are. That's pretty cool. Didn't know what it looked like. Happy about that. Now, I have a previous video on preparing for and taking the actual exam. That's only one of the requirements, so let me walk through the others. The first thing you really need to do is document your boating experience, and you do this on form CG 719S. You can find this just by doing a simple Google search, and it is a very antiquated form. You fill out one form per boat that you're going to document your experience on. Now, I had a fishing log that goes back several years. I obviously have a YouTube channel that documents my fishing adventures, so I felt like I had some background on how I would justify those boating days. I don't know how they would check it, but anyway, go check out that form and you'll see it's super antiquated. It was definitely some foreshadowing of some trouble I was going to have as I went forward. Filling out that form in itself was a little bit of a struggle. All right, the next thing you want to do is apply for your TWIC card. So the TWIC card is simply a background check. You can go to the TSA TWIC website, just pre-enroll in the website. You have 120 days to actually go walk in and do your background check, and it's basically just you give them your previous addresses, you take some fingerprints, and you're out. 124 bucks for me, and I was on my way. Now, one thing to know about the TWIC appointment is I could have done my drug test at the same time. I didn't know it when I went there, and I declined to do it actually because I had just had surgery, and I was a little bit concerned about what I had taken in the last couple of weeks due to my surgery, and so I didn't take it, but it would have been a good way to knock out two birds with one stone. So let me talk about the drug test, the next requirement. So this is a .5 drug test, and one thing you need to know is while marijuana might be legal in your state, recreational or medical, it's not legal federally, and this is a federal test. If that's in your system, you're gonna fail. Now, when I was at my TWIC appointment and the guy asked me if I wanted to do the .5 and I declined, I think he thought I was lying to him because when I left, I remember him saying, hey, don't dilute your sample when you come back. I went home and I researched a little bit about some of the pain medicine that I was on, and then waited a little bit, went back to do the drug test. A quick funny story here. The morning of my test, I only drank a Gatorade on the way up, and I thought, well, that'll give me enough to provide a urine sample. I get to my drug test appointment, I'm sitting in the lobby, and I'm a little worried that I didn't drink enough. And the guy calls my name, I go back in, he hands me a little jar and says, hey, go to this room and give me a sample. You got to give me 90 milliliters. And he gives me a cup. And I said, hey, wait a minute, I need to drink a little bit more. I don't think I'm quite ready to produce that much. And he said, no, if you go back, you'll fail. Just give me what you got. And I said, okay. So I ripped out a solid 75 milliliters, handed it back to him, and he goes, well, that's not enough. And I said, I know, I told you. I said, well, let me go drink some waters and I'll come back in and supplement it. And he said, no, if you do that, you'll fail. I was like, what? So he goes, the only thing you can do is I can give you 2 waters and then you can go back in the lobby, but you have to start all over again. And I thought, that's crazy. But I did it, obviously. So I went in there, I crushed the 2 waters, and I'm sitting there and I thought, I'm just gonna wait as long as I can because I do not wanna fail and I don't wanna have to come back. This is just a total pain in the butt. I know I'm gonna pass this test. I just gotta get 90 milliliters out. And so I'm sitting there after the 2 waters, and also the door opens up and he goes, hey, we made it work. And I'm like, what'd you add something to the sample? I thought it was a funny joke, but he said, what, do you want to wait longer? So obviously didn't want to do that. So I went in the back and I said, well, what changed? And he goes, well, actually what you produced, 75, was the actual limit. The one of the technicians was a little more conservative than the other. And she literally said to me, well, we shipped a sample and I want to make sure it doesn't leak. So I want to go over the limit. I'm like, what? Whatever. I didn't say nothing. They obviously were not in the mood to joke around. I had enough of a sample for our drug test and I was out of there. So the cost for the drug test was $75. After the drug test, the next thing you should do is a physical exam. There is a form 719K that needs to get filled out and submitted with your application. And I had an annual visit with my primary physician set up already. And I called him and said, hey, when we do that, can you fill out this form for me? And he said, yeah, absolutely. And then they called me a week before my physical and they said, hey, I can't do this. This has hearing, this has vision, and this form is like 10 pages long. He's like, I can't do that. And I was like, that's why I asked. So definitely double check. What I found was if I searched for occupational health clinic, I found some clinics in the area that literally advertised that they did this physical check. It cost me 300 bucks, which I was a little surprised about, but I got it all done. They filled out all the forms. I really didn't have to do much there. The next requirement is enrolling and taking an approved Coast Guard OUPV, operator of an uninspected passenger vessel, exam. And so I'll link my video at the end of this, Mariner's Learning System. I thought it was really good. And it took me a total of 9 months to do it. I ran into some health issues while I was doing this coursework. So it worked perfect for me. I could kind of start and stop it. And I really loved it. Now, if I wanted to do this as quick as possible, there are some in-person local schools that I could have gone to in my area here in Southwest Florida. They run about 750 bucks, and they're Friday through Sunday. I think they're 10-hour days. And you could have just cranked it out. I have a friend who did that. He had a really good experience with it. I just don't have personal experience with it. In my case, Mariner's Learning System was around 600 bucks. Now, they had a buy one, get one half off. I shared that with a friend. And I had to buy the plotting tools, things like that. But I had 600 bucks invested into that. All right, the next requirement, you have to get certified in CPR and First Aid. Now, I did this through the Red Cross. I could use the American Heart as well. This cost me $100. It was just a 3-hour class. And they just pair you up with somebody else. They teach you the ropes around how to do CPR. I had a lot of fun with it. I learned some things. There was no test at the end, which I thought was kind of lame, but you know, it was what it was. So I got everything done. The last thing I had to do is obtain a Merchant Mariner's Credential, MMC. And I had looked at this online. It's just basically a form you fill out that turns in it's basically your application. And I started filling this form out, and I was zipping along, and all of a sudden I got to endorsement types, and it had all these words in here that had no idea what they meant. I went to AI, I looked at YouTube's, I tried to find sample forms online. I could not figure it out, and I just buckled and said, you know what, I'm gonna pay for a service to help me with this application. And I used MMCs. It was 350 bucks, which I thought was a bit outrageous at the time, but it was truly stress-free, and I'm really happy I did it. Now, MMCs came with my Mariner's Learning System, but they're a separate company. I'm not quite sure. I think it's just kind of how they advertise their business anyway. They got me to enroll in it, and I'm happy that I did. But one thing I thought was really cool about MMCs is as soon as I filled it out, you basically go in and you make all your attachments, and it's got a real nice dashboard that shows what you've completed and what you haven't. So as you're completing things along the way, you could upload this. Once I had everything uploaded and I submitted it, I literally got an email from a lady named Emily the next day and said, hey, here's 2 errors you made on your boating experience forms, the stuff I had done months ago. I would have never caught it. I mean, to me, it's kind of ridiculous. Like, the form says who attests to your experience. I had my wife sign that because, you know, I felt like a second person needed to be involved here to vouch for me, and that wasn't the case. So the forms are strange. They fixed them all. They told me exactly what to write, and I was able to do that and get my application sent in. Once the application was sent in, MMCs had a really cool dashboard that showed me the review process. There's multiple steps to the review, and they literally tell you how long it's going to take. In my case, it took 47 days, but each step as it progressed, I could see it going through. So I think there was a lot of peace of mind with MMCs. I would have otherwise sent the application in, would have waited those 47 days. It would have got rejected because of the 2 issues that I found. I would have sent it back in, probably waited another 40-some days. So really happy that I ended up doing that, although the cost was quite a bit. In total, the whole process took me 9 months. I think if I was doing it as fast as possible, I could have got it done in probably 10.5 weeks, something like that. And in my case, I paid about 1,500 bucks total for the license. So that's my experience. Please hit the like button if this was helpful. Please hit the subscribe if you want to watch my adventures in Southwest Florida. If you want to go fishing with me, check out my website at canallifecharters.com. Let's go fishing.